Six people in the US just made a decision that could erase $175 billion, rewrite presidential power, crash a major economic strategy, and trigger a global trade reset. And the most shocking part? Some of those six were appointed by Donald Trump himself. This is not just another court ruling. This is the moment the Supreme Court drew a line and said, a president cannot control the world economy alone. And what happens next could affect everything from the price of your phone to the future of US elections. February 20th, 2026, the US Supreme Court delivered a 6-3 decision. The ruling: Donald Trump did not have the constitutional authority to impose sweeping global tariffs using emergency powers. This wasn't a narrow technical loss. This was a direct rejection of the legal foundation behind one of the most aggressive economic strategies in the modern US history. And the language used by court, it wasn't soft, it was a warning. Because at the center of this case was a question that goes far beyond trade. How powerful is the President of the United States? This case is not really about one man, it's about a system. For decades, American presidents have slowly expanded their power using emergency laws, war powers, sanctions, national security declarations. But this time, the court said, stop. You cannot use a law written in 1977 for financial emergencies to control global trade in the 21st century. That's not interpretation, that's legislation, and Congress can legislate. The entire tariff strategy was built on one law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. IEEPA was designed for movements like blocking terrorist funding, freezing hostile government assets, stopping foreign threats during the real crisis. It was never designed to tax imports from China, Europe, Mexico, Canada, and rest of the world. But Trump's team argued trade deficits are a national emergency. And for years, that argument worked, until today. Now we get to the part that could turn this into a financial earthquake. Because these tariffs were not theoretical, they were real. Companies paid them every day on electronics, steel, machinery, consumer goods, auto parts. Which means one thing, if the tariffs were illegal, that money was collected illegally. And now, the companies can demand it back, all of it, up to $175 billion. This could become the largest driven battle in US economic history. Some of the conservatives sided against Trump. This is where the story becomes historic, because this was not a liberal versus conservative ruling. This was a constitutional ruling, the key legal weapon used by the majority. The major questions doctrine. The doctrine says, if a president wants to make a decision that reshapes the national economy, the political system, or the global trade, Congress must clearly and specifically approve it. No guessing, no stretching old laws, no emergency shortcuts. That principle is now stronger than ever. When Trump launched these tariffs, the entire world reacted. Supply chains moved, factories relocated, trade alliances shifted, countries retaliated. Now imagine what happens when that system suddenly disappears. Markets hate uncertainty, and this ruling just created a massive uncertainty. Because now the world is asking, will tariffs return through Congress? Will trade deals be renegotiated? Is economic nationalism now slowing down? Here is one of the most misunderstood facts. Tariffs are often sold politically as taxes on foreign countries. But multiple economic studies found something very different. In most cases, American companies paid first, then passed those costs to American businesses and American consumers, which means this ruling could eventually affect retail prices, manufacturing costs, inflation, and supply chains. This case is now part of a much bigger pattern. The Supreme Court has recently limited federal agencies, regulatory power, executive interpretation of laws, and now emergency economic authority. This signals a long-term shift, power moving back to Congress, and that changes how every future president will govern. For Trump, this is more than a legal loss. Tariffs were a campaign promise, a negotiating tool, a core identity of his economic message. He called them the greatest leverage that America has. Now that leverage is legally restricted, and that reshapes the political battlefield. So what happens next? Three things are likely to happen: massive corporate lawsuits for refunds, emergency legislative proposals in Congress, new trade strategies using narrower laws. And each of those will create new headlines, new market reactions, new political fights. This story is not ending. It is just entering phase 2. In 20 years, law schools will teach this case because it answers a fundamental question. Can a president reshape the global economy alone? And today, the answer became no. This is not just about governments and corporations. This affects factory workers, small import businesses, farm exporters, online sellers, truck drivers, warehouse employees. Because global trade is not abstract, it's millions of jobs. And here is the twist almost no one is talking about. This ruling doesn't kill tariffs. It forces them through Congress, which means they become slower, more negotiated, more stable, and harder to weaponize instantly. This could create a completely new era of trade policy. So in less than an hour, the Supreme Court limited presidential power, shook a major political strategy, put $175 billion into question, sent shockwaves through global markets, and redefined how America can use economic force. That's not a normal ruling. That's a historic turning point. And the real story is just beginning. Because the next battle won't be in the courtroom. It will be in Congress, the market, the election campaign, and the global trade system. And when the refund war starts, this number, the $175 billion, it will be everywhere. If you like the video, do not forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.